here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. Here is with both Paul Cheon. We've got round 3. Now, this means this is the last round of booster draft for our players. And boy, have we had some shakeups. Draftmaster, currently leader, is now in our feature match area. It's Martin Juza, who now kind of gets to covet that until he potentially loses or maybe runs it up today with this match and then carries it on to tomorrow. His opponent is Sergio Rozalen from Spain, and they're ready to go. Let's head down for round 3 here from Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. We're in Kyoto. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Cheon, and we've got round 3 action lined up for you here. We've got from Spain, Sergio Ferrer Rozalen, and this is, Paul, this is Sergio's first Pro Tour. He won an RPTQ to qualify here. On the other side of the table, there's a little bit more experience on the table. This is in his 46th Pro Tour. I'm not kidding. That's Martin Juza from the Czech Republic. He plays for Team Channel Fireball Fire.
A little more seasoned.
A former teammate of yours, actually.
Yes, and I'm assuming he gave Sam Black a nice high five for defeating Travis Wu, as now Martin Juza has the lead for Draft Master.
That's right. And we're underway here. Have you got a chance to take a look at the deck list much yet, Paul? We just had them arrive. I'll let you take a look at those real quick as we start to see how this matchup plays out. We can see a quick start from Sergio. He went 1-drop, 2-drop, but Martin also back on the board with the Watchers of the Dead himself. And but Sergio has a clean attack here with the Frilled Sandwalla, as Martin really can't afford to block it and give up a creature for just 2 mana. And boy, the 1, 2, 3 here from Sergio, really good curve, and you can see how he got to 2-0 in this draft pod.
Yeah, and both players looking to be fairly aggressive here. Martin Juza is even playing a card that I don't see being played all too often, Decision Paralysis.
Decision Paralysis, yeah, wow, so he's playing that tempo game.
Right, he's really looking to play the tempo game. It's really funny, too, because in the previous set, Martin was basically talking about how blue is basically unplayable, and now, you know, here he is playing the blue-white deck. Actually, in the last Pro Tour, he played blue-red for his first draft deck, so he gets us all to not draft blue, and then he gets all the blue cards.
Oh, we're starting to figure out his game plan, aren't we? So Martin, though, followed up with what has to be a very important card in his deck, Oketra's Monument. Now, you're going to see the downside of these monuments. Right now, Sergio just gets basically a free attack as the board hasn't changed reasonably from the last turn, and he's going to use it, but now Martin gets to untap, and he may be able to just go wild on this board state here. If he can play, say, 2 white 3-drops this turn, he gets a whole bunch of value out of it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of great options here with the Monument. It looks like he has an Aven of Enduring Hope.
Well, let's take a look.
On the board. And he's got the Spearmaster and the Strategic Planning. So he can do one of two things. He can either just go Strategic Planning into Red Crop Spearmaster, or he can just drop the Aven of Enduring Hope.
Either way, he's going to get an additional 1/1 warrior out of the deal as well. And he's just going to go for the more board-affecting play, bump his life total back up to 17, get a 3/3 and a 1/1 for this turn.
Yeah, and there's even a chance, for example, next turn, if he strategic plannings into a 2-drop white creature, he can just play 3 things in one turn next turn.
Now the big question is, does Sergio have the combat trick, right? Because Martin, you know, part of the impetus to play this is to give himself multiple options to block the Kenrich Charioteer.
That was a really great draw from Sergio.
What did you see?
He had a Sandworm, which wasn't going to do a whole lot, but he drew the Gift of Strength off the top.
Whew.
This is huge.
So question answered. Martin is going to take the double block route here, but it's not going to work out well for him. And remember, the Charioteer has and gives trample.
And Martin actually opted not to block with the Aven of Enduring Hope there. Interesting.
You mean he could have gone for the triple block?
No, he could have put the Aven of Enduring Hope. Did the Pathmaker Initiate make something unblockable?
I think it made the Frilled Sandwall unblockable.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yep. Martin is playing Strategic Planning now. And like you said, this could set up a very potent turn for him, depending on what he can find off of Strategic Planning. Again, this isn't the type of card that you really want when you're getting beaten down, because it doesn't help you survive, but it can help find cards that can do that. And Martin looks like he's just going to have enough time to try to stabilize here.
I was actually a little bit surprised that Sergio opted to cycle the Limits of Solidarity. I know there's an... Whoa!
Look at this turn, Paul.
He did play 3 spells in one turn.
He did. You totally called it. He found a Gust Walker, played that for 1 white, and then went for the Spearmaster we knew he had. So, oh boy.
Right. Ooh, and a Puncturing Blow. The hits keep coming, but Sergio actually doesn't have the 2nd red to cast it.
That's right. So he's going to have to settle for that champion, I believe, instead. In the meantime, Sergio says, look, let's trade. He's going to get in with the Frilled Sandwalla, and he's going to try to set up Champion of Ronus into Greater Sandworm for the following turn.
That makes a lot more sense because he had the Champion of Ronus, of course.
But Martin will get a chance to trade off for the Kenra Charioteer here, as Sergio is out of combat tricks in hand.
It's really close. I think Martin might be just holding 2 lands, so it's really close here.
Let's see what he draws.
What do we got here?
He drew something. It was a Binding Mummy.
Okay. So 2 creatures.
Yeah, this game's pretty much neck and neck at this point. Now, if Sergio does get to put that Sandworm into play, though, then we'll see that he's going to be ahead.
And Martin's got to be thrilled that the Kenra Charioteer is off the board there. That actually allows his tokens that he makes from the Oketra's Monument to effectively chump block, whereas before, you know, not the 1/1 chump blocker is not looking so great against, you know, an army of tramplers.
Martin's going, oh, should I play one of these? Oh, I have this really great spell. Maybe I should wait a turn. Sergio's
tank.
And then he'll eventually begrudgingly pass the turn back. You know, a card like Sandblast is a reason to do that, to do what Martin just did.
Right.
He's just feigning that he has something that he might want to do, even though we know he's just got 2 lands in hand. And it is important to represent that.
And those are just, just the tiny subtle things that a player of Martin Juza's caliber. I mean, that's how you become the draft master. Wonder if Sergio's considering cycling the desert to see if he draws something better than a Greater Sandworm.
You know, I thought about that too, and I'm thinking, well, what is it, right? Then a 7 drop?
Well, he could also cycle to look for a combat trick.
True. Suppose he could do that after blocks, though. Well, let's find out.
This is the dream. When you draft Champion Ronus, this is what you want to put onto the battlefield.
And he did it. So there's a Greater Sandworm, and that thing is just straight up bigger than everything Martin has. And you mentioned the ability to chump block with the tokens, but of course, Sandworm says,
Yeah.
It's having none of it. In fact, only 2 of Martin's creatures can even block it at all at this point, and even both of them combined don't actually kill the Sandworm.
Yeah, Martin's current plan is likely just to try to get in with the Flyer, the Haven of Enduring Hope, and hope to have enough chump blocks for that Greater Sandworm. Also, Sergio, again, has the combo with Pathmaker Initiate and the Frilled Sandwalla, and it looks like he's kind of running out of things to do with his mana, so he can get in for 3 unblockable points of damage every turn as well. So this is going to be really, really close. But Martin does have to draw something here.
Martin's going to use
Sergio's slightly ahead.
Yeah. Martin's going to use one of his tokens to force Sergio to use a couple of mana just to get it off the battlefield, else he would just simply trade off. But Martin's in bad shape here against that Sandworm. Yeah. Let's see what Martin's drawn for the turn. Does he find a way to interact? That
looks like a Spellweaver Eternal. So not going to do a whole lot. It will just put a couple more chump blockers on the ground. But again, none of those creatures are very good at blocking the Greater Sandworm.
Wow, we have Martin at 7 life here as well. So the Greater Sandworm's lethal?
It is lethal.
Uh-oh.
But I think Martin, in order to put himself in a position to win, he does need to continue to attack with that Flyer. The question is, does he want to attack with more? He has to keep the Spearmaster back to block the Sandworm.
That's right.
Oh, right, and it's a zombie.
So he
As
can
all
get
the Eternals are zombies.
They are, so he can get that blocker out of the way, and Martin is trying to pick a fight on a race here.
Right. And he's happy attacking with all those creatures. Of course, the token has Vigilance. Does the Binding Mummy want to attack as well?
Could trade for the Pathmaker Initiate.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he does, yeah. Given that he's blue-white, he probably doesn't have a ton of zombies in his deck. He can trigger a lot of them off of kind of the Embalm mechanic that blue-white has a lot of. But yeah, Sergio just needs to find a removal spell for the Red Crop Spearmaster here.
Yeah, if he can find that, he can win on the spot. But this game has gotten very, very close. Let's see what he finds. He's not even going to look at it.
Oh,
Love it, Sergio. I like your style.
What do we got?
He found a Traveler's Amulet and an Overcome.
Oh, but he's a mana short.
He's short the mana. The Trample actually would give him a way to force Martin to block. Actually, would just die? Yes, he would just die.
So the question is, does he just keep everything back this turn and go for the Overcome next turn? Because it will be lethal. Let's see.
He's also got Hashep Oasis on the battlefield that he can activate to give one of his creatures +3/+3, though that doesn't look like it does much.
Right, there's just too many chump blockers on the board here.
Right.
But I imagine he's likely just going to go. He's going to go Amulet, search for Mountain, and probably pass and hope to win with the Overcome.
Does Martin have lethal if he just attacks with everything?
If he attacks with everything, Martin can get in for 6 points of damage, as Sergio can block the Red Crop Spearmaster and a token.
Well, he's going to force the chump block here from Martin Juza, and Martin's going to breathe a huge sigh of relief because he easily could have died that turn, but he's not going to.
Wow, this is super close.
So now what happens?
So now if he blocks a token and Martin attacks with everything, Sergio will go down to 1.
Oh, boy.
If Martin draws any spell whatsoever, Sergio is just dead. Because if he plays any spell, then the Spellweaver Eternal will have 3 power. And even if Sergio opts to block the Spellweaver Eternal, he's going to take 3 from the Aven, 2 from the tokens, and 2 from the Afflict from the Spellweaver Eternal. But it looks like Martin just drew a land.
He drew a Plains for the turn. He needed anything.
Yeah, and you know, now Martin has to keep back that Aven. He's got to keep back the Aven. And Sergio's just going to just cast that that Overcome and probably just win this game.
Yep.
Yeah, really needed just any spell. Any spell would have done it. All right. Will Sergio go for it? Play to land, play around Censor.
Yeah, might as well. And there's Overcome.
Martin could still have a Saving Grace. That's the only card he could do.
Sergio
He's like,
will
nope.
not be bothered with that, though. And this is a massively lethal attack. Again, the 7-powered Greater Sandworm right now can only be blocked by the 3/3 with flying. Does he have enough toughness to put in front of all of them? This is 17 trample damage coming over?
Right, and we have 6 toughness, so yeah, that's
more than enough. Yeah, and that is going to do it. So the leader of the Draft Master has just fallen 1 game down behind the newcomer, Sergio Rozalen, and we'll see if Martin Juza can go 2 games in a row and defeat him. But first, these messages.
Check out Hour of Devastation booster draft leagues on Magic Online. Draft anytime, play anytime. Available now. For more information, visit mtgo.com.
Xi'an. We're in round 3. This is Booster Draft, and we're going to take a live look in a Team Genesis battle here. Both of these players, this is Brad Nelson and Martin Mueller, play for Team Genesis, and they're in game 2. Brad, the Bard himself, has taken down game number 1, and Paul, something a little weird is happening here. So look at Martin Mueller's hand. Okay, things are getting better. So that was a hint of things to come. When you think of a card that you really, really want from Amonkhet that's red, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Magma Spray?
No, that's not that one.
We're going to go with Glorybringer.
How about Glorybringer?
Wow.
And Martin does have one. So his lands so far were white, white, blue, white, red.
Yep.
And he's got impeccable timing here.
And he's just hoping that Brad Nelson doesn't have some kind of pump spell here. There's a lot of great playable combat tricks, so it's always scary when you cast that impeccable timing into open mana.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you got away with something
right.
when it goes off.
Oh, it's okay, though. Martin Mueller also had Sandblast up. So if Brad had a combat trick, he had a secondary option. And Martin Mueller has a nice little combination here with the Dauntless Haven. He's able to produce a 1/1 token every single turn as he can untap his exert creature.
That is one of the nicer 1/2 punches that you can get.
Look at this. Ooh. Brad Nelson does have a Giant Spider, but, of course, as we mentioned earlier, Martin Mueller with the Sandblast for the Giant Spider.
Oh, man.
This is a lot of tokens.
Who needs Glorybringer?
Go wide. Brad was off to a great start, too. This is a big turnaround for Martin.
Yeah, we'll hold for a sec.
Ooh.
And here's the big boy.
We've seen a lot of this one.
Rampaging Hippo's been really impressive.
Yeah.
And
Another
it looks good
island?
here too.
Wait, what is Martin Mueller's mana base?
I don't know. I tried to find it, but I couldn't actually find his deck list in front of me, so I gave up. I can't look away from the screen for that long.
So he's opting to make a token in his main phase, which is interesting. Okay.
He just wants to untap.
Right, but he had one that was, because the other one was exerted.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense, of course.
So he's going to chip in. But still, this
blue card,
Hippos.
this blue card he's splashing has better be worth it. It's got to be like the Locust Guide or something.
Yeah, probably. Brad says, let's clean up this board a little, shall we?
Trample. Ample amounts of trample.
That's right. The chumps won't matter. But if Martin wants to take on considerable risk, he can throw all of his creatures.
Just 6 tokens block. All right. If you got something, you got something.
+1. Oh, never mind. Game over. So
Blur of Blades.
Yeah, Martin decides not to, but this is a big turn for Nelson here, who casts 2 3-drops in the same turn. And is there a desert to be seen here for Nelson?
There are no deserts for those Sidewinder Naga. So
wow, that's a big deal. Again,
right?
You know, the trample being a big deal. 4/2 with trample on this board looks so much better than a 3/2.
Right.
So if Brad's last card is a desert, or if he finds one, he could be in business.
Wait, Wait, is he splashing Glorybringer?
Wait a minute. I think he's splashing Glorybringer, Martin.
Okay. This makes more sense.
By the way, Martin smashed the GP last weekend here in Kyoto.
Oh, yeah?
At one point, he was like 12-0.
Wow.
Yeah, he just ran it up.
Yeah, and I don't really think he wants to go wide here just yet. But he's almost getting to that point. He's got a ton of tokens on the battlefield. Say, Brad really wants to find a desert. Does he find it?
Yeah, he'd love to find that. If he finds a cycling desert, he could even consider keeping it in his hand. So that
Use
Martin
it as a
won't
combat
know.
trick?
Yeah, so Martin won't know.
But Fanbearer was an excellent draw out of Martin Mueller. He can now keep the Rampaging Hippo in check.
He just needs to survive another turn. Again, if Brad has a desert, things look so much better for him.
Uh-oh.
Well, Brad decides this is not getting any better given that Fanbearer. He's just going to jam with everybody.
All right, here we go. How are we blocking?
Martin's got a lot of decisions to make here because he has so many different block options with all of those tokens. Like, which cards does he prioritize? Which type of things does he want to play around?
Yeah, I imagine
also surviving is probably important.
I imagine the risk is too high to kind of block the Hippo with any number of tokens. So I imagine Martin's going to be looking to kind of put his tokens in front of all the other creatures And just be mindful that Brad could have a Desert to cycle with the Sidewinder Naga and make sure he doesn't die that way. So he could just maybe put 1 on the Initiate, 2 on the Weaver of Currents, and then some number on the Naga just to make sure that he also doesn't, again, die to some combination of Cycle Land and Combat Trick. But this is a tough block. And Brad definitely needed to push the aggression here because those soldiers were getting kind of out of hand, or Knight tokens.
They're warriors, Paul.
Oh. Sorry, Marshall. Sorry.
The setup.
I know. I know.
Oh, yeah, chat's mad at you for that one.
Yeah, well.
You disappointed them. Like I said, though, at the beginning of this, Martin really does have so many options on how to block with all of these tokens, and he's really taking his time because this is a huge scenario
this
for
is a
him.
pretty reasonable block here. He's like, all right, if you got something, you got something. And you did. Oh.
Wow, 2 somethings.
That was the, oh, by the way, also had this one.
Wow, so that was Brad Nelson defeating Martin Mueller 2-0. And it looks like Martin stepped away for a moment, so we're going to go ahead and have a little look in at Matt Severa versus Alex Hain. So this is Team Mutiny versus Team Face-to-Face games. And Severa's up a game as we come into this. Yeah, it looks like we got Martin Juza back as well. So why don't we just head back over to our main table there as Martin has arrived again. And, of course, we want to catch all the action on Game 2.
Yeah, a lot on the line for Martin. Winning Draftmaster, of course, means that will qualify you for the World Championships. Although I believe Martin is also pretty close to just get an at-large slot as well.
Okay, just lots of pro points.
Right.
Okay, good start here from Juza. He's the one with the 1-2 punch. Remember, Sergio went 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop in the first game. A much slower start here for Sergio. Yeah. He's got Feral Prowler. Before, on the other game, he had a ton of power and toughness on the board by turn 3, all with trample. Now Martin gets to kind of sit back a little bit here, though. He's going to chip in for a damage.
Yeah. Getting in every point as he's likely to use his mana this turn.
And he's going to cast a Dauntless Aven before passing the turn back to Sergio.
Yeah, he could have also gone for the Unwavering Initiate, but Red-Green generally kind of struggles against Flyer, so.
That's right.
Good option here.
Slow start for Sergio now.
Definitely.
He's got Traveler's Amulet and then the land version of a Traveler's Amulet, which is an Evolving Wild. So effectively 2 tap lands here for Sergio means that he's going to do nothing this turn outside of develop his mana base. A lot of weight on that cat there, kind of holding down the fort.
Right. Some interesting options here. Martin has like kind of 2 main plays. He can either opt to play the Binding Mummy and leave up mana to use the Fanbearer to tap, or he can just play an Unwavering Initiate, which does a good job of attacking through the Feral Prowler.
Yeah, he's got some pretty good options here as far as developing his board.
Right. He could choose to just attack with all of his creatures, and yeah, it looks like he's committing to using the Unwavering Initiate, or casting the Unwavering Initiate. He could also choose to get really aggressive and untap the Fanbearer and use the mana to tap the Feral Prowler if he wanted to. That would get in for more damage.
Oh boy, that's what he's doing.
All right.
He must have a 2-drop to play?
Yes, he's got that Binding Mummy.
Okay. Well, Martin Juza looking to capitalize on the slow start from Sergio this time.
Pushing through every point of damage that he can. Because on offense, let's see, Martin can actually use the combination of Dauntless Haven and Fanbearer to tap down 2 creatures in one turn. Tap a creature with the Fanbearer, attack with the Dauntless Haven, untap the Fanbearer, then tap down something else. So it's really unlikely that Sergio's going to be able to play 2 creatures this turn. So that means Martin's going to be able to force through another 6 points of damage here if he wants.
Oasis Ritualist. A fine blocker. Wow, he almost just did it right away. Martin's, he's
Getting
got the
really
line
aggressive here.
for sure.
Interesting. I see.
And he's going to go ahead and tap
Okay,
down
so
to 2/4.
so the plan here now is for him to use the Unquenchable Thirst so that Sergio can't do anything crazy with the Oasis Ritualist.
Right, can't
Right.
untap and play a
Yeah.
7-drop or something insane.
Ooh, nice defensive creature, though.
Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs off the
Right.
top there for Sergio. Martin off to that quick start has Sergio all the way down to 8 life and still has a currently unanswered Dauntless Haven in the air,
Yeah,
which is a 4-turn clock on its own.
Really punishing the slow start. And again, here, if Martin wanted to, he can get in for 6 points of damage by tapping 2 of Sergio's creatures. That would get Sergio down to 2, and it would force Sergio to have an answer for Dauntless Haven next turn.
I like that. I mean, it doesn't seem like Sergio has it, right? He
Right.
would have probably used it at some point here. It does mean that Martin doesn't get to add any more creatures to his board, which he can do. He's got 2 creatures and 5 that cost a total of 5 mana plus a land in his hand. So,
Right.
you know, if Juza wants to, he can play an Oketra's Avenger and an Unwavered Initiate and still get in for 2 damage this turn.
Yeah, that does leave you a little bit more vulnerable to maybe like some kind of sweeper that Sergio might have been sandbagging.
Totally does. 3 cards, 4 cards, he says.
And I feel like, you know, if Sergio, for example, he has 3 mana up, he could have 2 of the kind of the more premium removal spells in the format in both Open Fire and Ambuscade. But I think if he had either of those removal spells, he would have used it on his turn to prevent the activation of a Fanbearer.
Yeah, so it looks like he's going to try to just push through to get this
I like
2-turn
this.
clock in line. And I think this is
Yeah.
a sweet play.
Getting really aggressive. That's 6. He's down to 2.
He's down to 2. So
Sergio has to find an answer for Dauntless Haven.
yeah, this is where Sergio's way up against it. Needs a removal spell, and he doesn't find it. So Martin Juza is going to take down game number 2 from Sergio Ferrer Rozalen. Yeah. All right, so that means we're going to look in on Matt Severa versus Alexander Hayne. And we've got a little tidbit of information from our floor reporter, Tim Willoughby. He says Matt Severa has already cast
Approach of the Second Sun. And by the way, this is not the first time that we've looked into a match and
That's
somebody's cast an Approach of the Second Sun.
So it's somewhere 3, 4, or 5 cards down on his library.
Yeah.
By the way, look at his graveyard, too.
That's an overwhelming splendor.
Yeah. And he's got a Manolith in there. So, yeah, Matt Severa went pretty deep.
We might have a good idea as to kind of what the members of Team Mutiny might be liking here. As Sam Black also drafted a very similar
I was going to say,
deck.
I'll tell you what, if you go for a random side draft in Madison, Wisconsin this weekend, maybe don't try to fight for the Oasis Ritualist because you're not getting them.
Yeah. If you see a Manolith with like 6 cards left, just take it.
Yeah, just take the thing. All right, looks like Banewhip Punisher just took out Magma.
Oh, but Hayne is getting in for a lot of damage.
Yeah, he really is.
Unless this Approach of the Second Sun is a top card or some kind of sweeper, it's going to be really hard for Matt.
Hayne is playing blue. He could have boarded in a counter spell of some sort.
I think, is that an If New Rivulet? What if Hayne just decides to be a nice guy and just mills Matt for it?
Well, yeah, he just needs to make sure that he mills the Approach of the Second Sun.
Oh!
Sandworm Convergence for Severa.
Goodness. The hits keep on coming. Wow.
Go.
Token.
And now that somehow that Cartouche of Knowledge is a huge liability for Alexander Hayne because his Minotaur can no longer attack.
And it looks like he's
going to go. He's going to go
3 cards
mill.
down.
Yeah, so he's going to make sure to hit that, and he does. Approach of the Second Sun hits the graveyard.
Wow. Overwhelming Splendor, Approach of the Second Sun, and Sandworm Convergence?
Jeez.
I think Alex Haynes' main strategy here could be to just maybe draw enough deserts to deck Matt Severa.
So Hain's going to get in for 2 damage.
Ooh. Got a little bit of an update here. Alex Hain has several ways to kind of try to finish the game.
Okay.
He's got an impending doom.
Imminent doom, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, imminent doom. And the Raminep ruins.
Ruins, that's right. And he is down to 2, by the way, Severa, right? He just took 2 from that Kenra.
Okay.
The Earthshaker, yeah, because he just jammed with both creatures there. And Severa only had 1 blocker, so...
Oh, okay, and Severa's down to 2 life.
He really is,
And
yeah.
actually, Alex Hain has 2 copies of Raminep Ruins.
Wow.
So he's got outs. And it looks like it's definitely going to take some time for Severa to be able to start attacking.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of blockers now, plus the 5/5 from the convergence. So this will turn quickly on Alexander Hain. He's actually going to need to find one of those cards quite quickly here.
It'll be interesting because Alex Hain also has a Scribe of the Mindful. If there's a way to get back an instant or sorcery that deals direct damage, he could opt to mill himself. And that's what he's doing.
He just did that. You're totally right. He could get like an open fire or something like that.
What if this top card is just Raminep Ruins?
Then that's game. Okay, well, Alex did not slam it on the table.
Right, but again, he can give himself an additional out. He can sacrifice the Scribe of the Mindful, get back Crash Through to cycle to find the Raminep Ruins if he wants.
Now, he's unlikely to die next turn, so he could also bide his time here, but...
Absolutely.
He will die soon. Like, we've all seen how that Sandworm Convergence gets out of hand so quickly with that free 5/5 every single turn. It looks like it was just a mountain there for Hain.
So he's probably looking to set up like maybe a block sacrifice here with the Scribe of the Mindful. If Matt Severa opts to attack. Okay. Matt Severa drew Magma Spray. Just not going to do a whole lot here.
Yeah, the Earthshaker Kenra, getting rid of that could be important just because it gives Alex Hain a place to put his mana later and potentially a big attacker that's lethal and also makes it harder for Matt to block.
And I'm not sure. Ooh, okay. So
yeah, he's
getting aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to attack.
He needs to.
Yeah, he has to.
And here's the play that you described a second ago, Paul.
And both players, liking the way both players are playing here. They're both kind of playing to their outs. Like, Severa has to be mindful that Raminep Ruins is a card. Oh, that was a countervailing winds?
Yeah, so I think he just has to cycle it, right?
Okay, but this is... He's
Crash
going
through?
for the cheaper option. Okay, he can still find it by cycling the countervailing winds here, or he might have one more turn. But if he has other ways to kind of cantrip or cycle, he might want to just do this now to be able to kind of use up all of his mana. Here we go.
Here we go. Can he hit it?
Here we go.
No, he hit
just
another
land.
mountain. And he's just
down
going
to
to pass
the
the
wire.
turn.
Wow. And
Right
Alex
now,
is just going to block here.
He's just going to block with his Minotaur, though Matt actually doesn't quite have lethal here, right? He's got 12 power out.
Right.
Still, it is block o'clock, and then he's going to have one cold rip at a Raminop Ruins to see if he can't take this game. If not, Matt Severa could win the game, and then that would give him the match.
Yeah, at this point, Matt Severa just kind of thinking of like what possible cards Alex Hain could draw here to get him out of it. This is a little bit risky. This does leave Matt Severa vulnerable to a card like On-Crop Crasher.
Right.
Right, because he's only going to have one blocker.
Another weird... Now, let's just see what happens here. So pass the turn, make a worm, and let's see if Alex can find it. He's down to 3 life.
I might have kept one creature back. But I don't know if he...
What did he draw?
What is it?
He drew Winds of Rebuke.
Oh, for the win!
And that wins him the game. He can bounce the Sandworm Convergence and attack with his last flying creature
so 3 outs
to win. Oh
my God.
What a draw from Alexander Hain.
Wow.
Oh, bouncing a non-creature, or excuse me, a non-land permanent. Pretty good there. Why don't we head back to our main table?
What a game that was.
Oh, man. Who needs Raminop Ruins? You got Winds of Rebuke.
Yeah.
All right, we can get cooking again here on our main table. Martin Mueller versus Sergio Ferrer Rozalen versus Martin Juza.
Very much more reasonable start here. We got a 2-drop here out of Sergio.
Right.
Sergio. And he's got a couple of 4-mana removal spells as well, with Puncturing Blow and Electrify, but he does need to find a 4th land.
Okay. Yeah. What about on Martin's side of the board?
Well, bit of a slow hand as well. He's got the Aerial Guide and an Aven Wind Guide as well, so yeah, not a lot of options for him here. I don't think he wants to just play an Unquenchable Thirst here on the Pathmaker Initiate.
It feels so bad.
Yeah. But Aerial Guide has been really, really impressive. Just a lot. Yeah, this format still there's a lot of attacking involved, and
that's right.
That creature does do a lot of work. Kind of a little bit worse in blue-white because half your creatures likely will have flying.
Mm-hmm. Interesting there. Martin's going to have to breathe a sigh of relief as there was no 3-mana creature there from Sergio.
Ooh.
So that's a big play for him, though. He is only backing up that Puncturing Blow with just a 2-powered creature, so you got to like where he's at, but at the same time, he's really going to want to get some beef on the battlefield here to kind of punch through and get Martin's life total down much quicker as he plays an Aven Wind Guide and passes a turn back to
the Exile effect being very relevant here with the Puncturing Blow, as the Unwavering Initiate cannot be embalmed.
And there's some beef. That's what we were looking for here for Sergio. A Tenacious Hunter is going to give him a way to start attacking through for big chunks of damage, especially leveraging the removal spells that he has got in his hand.
Yeah.
This is a big turn for Juza as well.
Right, and he's got an Unquenchable Thirst. So this is a really great turn for him, as he has a Desert in play and it taps down the Tenacious Hunter.
Yeah, that's a huge play for him, as he just took off all the pressure, added some more himself, and has the board fully stabilized here. So things looking good for Juza early.
You know what else Sergio has in his hand?
What does he have? What is it?
A 2nd copy.
Another Tenacious Hunter? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and this is Sergio has a fantastic hand here. Now he's in that awesome situation in Magic. I love being in this spot where if you draw land, it's great. You get to play your Scaled Behemoth. If not, you just draw a spell. Oh, also great.
I love that spot. It's so good.
Yeah.
So Juza getting it in the air, and that's a good thing for him, because if he does end up facing down huge ground creatures, he at least can try to make a race out of it.
Right.
Because Sergio's creatures are certainly outclassing Martin's as far as size goes, being in green. That's a Vizier of the True there for Martin Juza.
He's actually got 2 copies of that.
Wow, that's an
premium
uncommon. Yeah, that's insane. Land off the top for Sergio, though. He hit it.
Okay. Scaled Behemoth, I imagine, is going to be entering the battlefield here.
Martin looks nervous, and he should be. This is going to be a very, very close game.
Right.
He's a little bit ahead in the damage race, but boom, down to 12. And all of a sudden, he's behind.
Yeah, now there's a Scaled Behemoth on the board. Cannot tap it. It's got the hexproof. So this is just an a race between kind of like what Martin has in the air. He can give it the Vizier flying. So this is 7 damage. This is a 2-turn clock.
Yep.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But Sergio does have an Electrify in his hand.
That's right. So he's going to have to use that next turn to not just die in the air.
This is incredibly close.
That was no exert. And does Martin have anything else to add to the board? Oh, he's got another Unquenchable Thirst. Wow.
Right.
So both of the crocodiles have gotten very thirsty here on Sergio. He still has one more. It looks like a crocodile theme deck when you look at it. The Scaled Behemoth is left over. He drew Overcome.
That was an Overcome.
Is that enough here? 8, 9, 10, 11?
That's 12 damage.
12.
It's 12 damage,
it's
but Martin does have a blocker, and he does have 3 mana up. I don't think he's going to go for it here. I think it's pretty likely that he goes for an attack with the Scaled Behemoth, and probably is going to look to use a removal spell here on one of the creatures.
Yeah.
Another thing he could do, which is a little conservative, he could actually opt to electrify the Aerial Guide, keep the Scaled Behemoth back, so that the Vizier cannot attack.
Yes.
He would only be taking 2 in the air.
That would make sense. Take a look at Sergio from Spain. In his first Pro Tour, he's 2-0, and boy, has he drafted a beauty here.
Right.
But he has run into one of the best limited players on the Pro Tour, Martin Juza. He's currently our draft master, if it stops right now. Of course, it doesn't. And there's Electrify. And we did not quite see what he targeted.
He could also electrify the Aven Wind Guide to also attack with the Pathmaker Initiate. That's going to put Martin down to 4 life, and then Overcome should almost certainly end the game.
Yeah, the hexproof, so annoying from Martin's perspective here. Does Martin have a way to get in for 2 additional damage? Because if he does, he could just win on the spot. Oh, he's going to use Sandblast here.
And I think this might actually have been a good opportunity for Sergio to just play Gift of Strength to get in for 3 additional points of damage.
Oh, you're right.
Because he's just going to play an Overcome next turn.
You're right.
He only has 6 mana on the battlefield.
Totally, and the way was clear. That was the time to do it. It looks like Martin's still in bad shape here, though. Because if he doesn't have anything back, then just...
But Martin drew a land for the Aven Windguide, right? So now that's going to be a 2/3 on the battlefield. If Sergio plays Overcome, that gift could cost them because Sergio has exactly enough damage to get Martin down to 1. He needs to draw a land here.
He has to get a land to do both.
Oh,
when he hit it.
Oh, my goodness.
Overcome, attack, and he's got the
Block,
gift
and he has
as
a gift.
well.
Wow.
And that's going to do it. Sergio Ferrer Rozalen defeats Martin Juza in a flurry finish. He made it a little harder on himself than he needed to, but he hit the land. And it worked out for him, and that means that Martin Juza, now taking a loss in that draft, much more mixes up.
Oh, wow.
The Draft Master competition. So, oh boy, we'll be keeping an eye on that one. That is going to come down to tomorrow when the players come in the morning for the second booster draft of the tournament, and we're going to have a neck and neck. We're keeping an eye on how Travis Wu and Owen Turtenwald are doing in this draft as well, because they were the 3 players who were the most in contention coming in for that, and Martin can just only shake his head. All right, let's go back to Matt Severa and Alexander Hayne.
Wait, what? That's an Imminent Doom.
Oh, it's already got a counter on it, too.
I don't think I've ever cast that card or had anybody cast it against me.
Oh, it only has the 1 counter. I see. So
he needs to play a 2-mana spell now?
No. It starts with the 1, and when you play the 1, it goes to 2.
Ah,
right.
Okay.
So he actually still needs a 1-mana spell, which I think for the most part is kind of the hard part.
Right.
Because there's not a lot of 1-mana spells that you really want to play in limited.
There is a Crash Through in his graveyard. Maybe he has a Magma Spray.
Yes, those are the type of cards that you want to see. Another copy of Crash Through to get it up to 2. Because once you get to 2, 3, 4, you'll have a lot of options
then
for
it starts doing a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, it looks terrible, Paul. It looks really bad if he can't get another counter.
It's okay. I appreciate it, Alex. This is for science.
This is not the best time to be sciencing, but he is doing it.
Ooh. Great card.
What was it?
Severa,
Where do we see it? The Banewhip
Punisher? We got a Banewhip Punisher here on the hollow one.
Okay. Matt does have a Painted Bluff, so he can activate his Punisher if he'd like, but doesn't actually need to. He's going to block the now 3/3 hollow one. And he's going to use it anyway.
Ooh. It looks like that Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs has been active the entire game since turn 2. So, offense and defense.
Interesting decision there from Matt. Did you see he blocked and then used the Banewhip Punisher anyway?
Right.
He didn't want to risk losing his Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs, as it's been the only real thing that's gotten in for damage for him.
What?
Life Goes On just got cast?
Yes, and he gained 8 life as he sacrificed his Banewhip Punisher.
What? That's what he was setting up?
Wow. I mean, to be fair, if you look at Matt Severa's deck, it's got a fantastic late game, right? Overwhelming Splendor.
What do you think about that one?
So the only way he can lose are to, like ramming up ruins and all these burn spells.
So based on the information we have here, Paul, do you think that Sandworm Convergence or Imminent Doom's a better card?
I'm going to go with the more expensive card.
All right. When in doubt. Well, things looking good for Matt Severa to 3-0 his pod, taking down the tough Alexander Hayne. But this one's going to be over next turn here, as Alex is completely out of gas, staring down at the useless enchantment. And he finds probably the reason that Matt brought in Life Goes On. He finds an Inferno Jet off the top. And he Matt knows that he can get him, and he just has to cycle it.
Yeah. He can deal with one of the worms, but yeah.
He's got to deal with every creature on the battlefield, actually.
Alex has to pay 6 mana to deal 6 damage. Matt just needed to pay 1 to gain 8.
Yeah, it's just not a fair fight.
What a bad card.
And that's going to do it. Matt Severa says, good games, Alex. And he books another 3-0. Matt, a very, very accomplished limited player. And he's showing us why here by getting the coveted 3-0. Remember, the players are grouped into pods of 8, and since it's bracket style, there only can be one player per pod that goes 3-0, and you know, to get that is fantastic start to your Pro Tour.
Right, right, yeah. That's some pretty amazing games, and especially that race with Martin Juza. That Sergio almost got punished for not casting that Gift of Strength, and then he ended up drawing that land for the win. Martin's got to be heartbroken.
So close.
Pick up that loss.
I can tell you there's a lot going on with the Draft Master and a whole lot going on as we start to transition our way into Standard. We're going to hand it back to the news desk, but first, these messages.
Hello and welcome back to the news desk. Maria Bartholdi here with Rich Hagan after draft on day 1 of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. We saw some really cool stuff, Rich.
we really did, but you know, Draft Master, there were 3 rounds today, 3 rounds coming tomorrow. For those that make it 4 and 4 or better, gets you back in to come and draft again. So every round, really, you don't care whether you win with a Kenra Scrapper or a Defiant Kenra on Earthshaker Kenra, all you care about's the W. So we kind of had 6 players coming into the day that we thought were really in contention for Draft Master. Why don't we take a look at the Draft Master leaderboard for you that, as things stand, coming into this last round. So this was after 2 of the rounds today. Martin Juza had overtaken Travis Wu by half a round, if you like. He's within a round lead. And as you look there, then Owen Turtenwald, Tim Wu, Makis Matsoukas on 48. Now, the way this panned out, how did these 6 do? Martin Juza loses, stays at 51. The ball passes back to Travis Wu. If he won that last round, he'd be back in the lead for Draft Master. He didn't win. Travis Wu lost, went to 1 and 2 in the Draft Master, 1 and 2 on the day. He stays at 49 points. So what about Owen Turtenwald? If he won his round, he would go to 51 points and be tied with Martin Juza. Maria, did he?
No, he did not. Owen lost.
Okay, so Owen stays at 48. Timothy Wu, he was at 2 and 0 coming in. He was up to 48. If he won this round, he would join Martin Juza on 51. Maria, did he?
No, he did not, Rich. He lost
Okay,
as well.
so Wu stays at 48 points. What about, can we buy a win? How about Makis Matsoukas, who's in contention for Rookie of the Year from Greece, part of Team Confla Greece, on 48 points coming in, won twice already. Did he 3 and 0?
Yes, he did.
So Makis Matsoukas joins Martin Juza at the front of Draft Master, and Christian Calcano with a win goes up to 48. So super tight. Juza and Matsoukas co-lead on 51. Wu, despite 1 and 2, still in 3rd place on 49 within a round, and then on 48 you've got Turtenwald and Wu, and just epic stuff. Congratulations to Makis Matsoukas. Now, so many players, of course, did go 3 and 0. We've got 460 some players here at the Pro Tour. Why don't we take a look, Maria, at the overall scoreboard for the first time here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation?
All right, here we go. The overall scoreboard results are still coming in, but this is what we have right now. Craig Krempels at 3 and 0, Chris Yao at 3 and 0. We've got Lucas Bashaud at 3 and 0.
Yeah.
Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa,
Yeah,
he 3 0.
just so many, of course, and as you see, Brad Nelson, he defeated Martin Muller handily 2-0. Mike Rohn of the Philippines. Let's go on to our next group of 3 and 0s. 21 down to 40, everyone here. Now, number 40, and this means nothing in terms of tie breaks, but Maria, currently in, quote, 40th slot, is the biggest name of all. Marcio Carvalho.
Oh, yes.
3-0. What does that mean?
So he's in the running for Player of the Year, and this is a very, very good sign for him.
Right, because he's in a position, yes, there are 12 other players who, if they make the top 8, could push him all the way into Sunday, but Marcio does have things under his own control, and the more points he accumulates, he'll get 4 points for 9 and 7, 6 points for 10 and 6, 10 points for 11 and 5, up to 15 points if he's on the verge of the top 8 at 12 and 4. 3 and 0. Tremendous start. The Player of the Year race nudges its way towards Portugal. Let's move on. One more set of results. Still more players coming in at 3 and 0 for you. Frank Karsten. Good job. Why? What with the surprise, you ask ourselves? Well, Frank Karsten hasn't done a lot of testing.
He's been traveling around the country.
He has. All his Facebook posts aren't, I really like red-white aggro, or I think blue-red spells is the way forward in draft. All his posts have been, I am up a mountain. I am sleeping on a wooden floor in a wooden hut, 27,000 feet above sea level. So Frank has made a terrific job. Sure, you'll hear about that in one of his articles. Another Team Genesis member, remember they're second in the race for Team Series. They have got a second member at 3 and 0 in addition to Brad Nelson. It's Seth Manfield. That is the story of the morning here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. But Maria, it's time to concentrate a little less on the here and now and more about the history of the game. A really special moment coming right up. Over to you.
That's right. We are about to announce the 2017 class of the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour Hall of Fame.